Good evening, everyone. First of all, a very happy Women's Day to all of you. And we are here to discuss today what we started some time back. I see Aditi has joined here. Hi Aditi. We are going to talk to two really awesome women. Aditi, let me just see if I can add you. We are going to be joined by two really awesome women. One of them is Aditi Mutatkar, who has joined us. Hi.
Hello.
And we are waiting for one more amazing woman, Snehal. I hope she joins really soon. I know that she is very busy. But how are you, Aditi?
I'm good, Vaidehi. I'm in Bangalore currently and super excited to join you from a different city.
Yeah.
And we will have our trailblazer, Snehal Pradhan, also join us from a different city.
Yes.
It's
The celebrity will be in the
I
house
know
very soon.
that celebrity, so waiting to see her face as well.
Yes, it's been some time since we met, isn't it? So I'm very excited to meet her. But please check out what Aditi is doing as well. You know, she's doing some amazing work in the field of women's sports, athlete development, and in the menstruation part of athlete development as well, especially women athlete. So her work is really awesome, and I'm really happy to have her with her background as a player and now transitioning into more administrative and management role. Her insights are going to be very useful for us to understand, even for the athletes to know how they can also become decision makers in an organization. And I think there is a need for that as well. So I'm just gonna check where Snehal is. I think she joined. Let me just message her. Hi everyone. Thank you for joining today. Till Snehal joins, I would like to give you a little bit of background where all this equity toolkit journey started essentially. So, as you know, Women in Sport India has been working towards getting more women into sports, and not just professional level but also recreational level, because we want to create this ecosystem which supports and helps women's health. And I don't think there is any better way to promote health for women other than sports and fitness. Because if you are into sports, you need to eat right. You need to exercise. You need to sleep on the right time and get up on the right time. So naturally, your body becomes very healthy, right? So I think sports can be a fantastic way to promote women's health and to also to just have fun. We are all born to play, but in the recent times, with a lot of work happening especially in the metro cities, and a lack of space, honestly, we are sort of forgotten to go out and play and enjoy each other's company. So we also want to promote that. We also want to get women back to sports and have them come together and just enjoy each other's company and just have fun. And I know this for a fact because whenever I meet Aditi and Snehal, the time is very well spent, and it's super fun. It's the kind of conversations that we have, the kind of discussions we do. It's never never a dull moment. So I want all women to experience that, even if you don't want to go on to become a professional athlete. Playing is our basic right, but we have also seen that the numbers aren't very promising. The participation numbers, women participation, women in decision making positions is not very promising, and that has not changed a lot over the years. Even though we are more aware that women need equal rights, women need equity, right? That hasn't changed a lot. So our try or our aim was to find what are these barriers, what are these entry barriers for women to either play or to enter the decision making positions, right? So we are currently focusing more on the administration, management, and working side of sports, because I know that when a woman is a decision maker, it trickles down to the athlete as well. So we are trying to find out what are these restrictions that stop women from getting into decision making positions, because you have to climb up the ladder, right? So we are trying to figure out what are these barriers, and once we figure them out, our try is going to be to um, you know uh, create a set of recommendations, practically implementable set of recommendations to overcome those barriers or to go around those barriers. Not every barrier can be, overcome, but, something we are thinking. Snehal is here, so I'm going to invite her. Hello, Snehal.
Snehal, Dubai time.
Ah.
Hello, guys.
Snehal is in Dubai. Hello.
Apologies for being late.
It's okay. So I was just, explaining to everybody what our plan is through this equality toolkit. And, since you are here, I think we can start with the discussions. We have now completed phase 1 of the equity toolkit, and I shared a very, very first data with both Snehal and Aditi. Of that, it's a very, very raw data. We still have to work a lot. There are 2 more phases that we're going to also go through, but I think we are already seeing a little bit of trend in terms of the data collection and the data analysis. So I shared the data with both of them, and I wanted to have a very open and honest discussion with both of you, because you have both been athletes and now you have transitioned into administrative positions, and that too, you are decision makers in your organization. So it's a very important stage in your life to comment on what is happening in sports as a woman. You have been an athlete, so you can comment from that perspective, and you are now administrator, so you can comment on that part of things. So the very first point of discussion that I want to touch upon is inequality. And I'll give you a little bit of background to this. Is we asked in our survey, do you understand what equity is? And do you understand what equality is? A lot of people understood what equality is, but very few of them actually knew what equity is. A lot of them actually thought equity and equality are same, and some of them also thought that it has to do with share market, right? Which is true, and I'm glad that they know about it, because that means that they are keeping eye on their finances, which is great. But understanding the difference between equity and equality is very, very important. So I just want to ask you, what is your definition of equity and equality? So maybe we can start with Aditi first.
I think we should start with Pradhan, because Pradhan came late. We should put her on the spot for.
Hey, so I'm happy to go first, but that means that the stuff I say you can't say again. So actually, I'm happier going first.
Go.
Okay.
Oh, let's
Pradhan,
see. Let's
you
see.
first then.
Uh, so, I think that was one of the most interesting outcomes of the survey, which probably tells you the difference between what a word means depending on where you say it. It's like in India, when you're flashing your lights in the car, you're saying stop. Otherwise, I will bash into you. In Europe, when you're flashing your lights in the car, it means I'll stop, you come through. So that
True, very true.
for the same word, if we say the word equity in India, rightly people think stock market. And if we say the word equity, maybe in the US or the UK, where the culture wars are talking a lot about that subject, they are going to talk about it in a very different way. So I'm not surprised at all that it's not a word that the distinction between those two things are not very apparent to the respondents in your survey, because it's a journey that everyone goes on. I certainly, as an athlete or years after quitting playing, didn't really have a conception of this concept of equity, which for me means that you have to account for everyone's starting points being different.
Yes.
And can't just want the ending point to be the same. So that's it for me. But I'm not surprised by the fact that most of the responses came back, and that just means there is more of a need for education around the fact that it's not always a level.
Very true, very true. Aditi, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, agree with Pradhan here. I mean, I'm hoping calling her Pradhan. I don't know. I mean, you're quite famous, Snehal, but I'm going to call you Pradhan because I always have called you Pradhan.
We are way past that, we are way past that threshold.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, see, in the way, a way in which I basically, define equity and equality and kind of make the difference is very simple, right? I mean, if you have a rich woman and a poor woman together, and you want them to start off working, or you want to give them some kind of leverage to start work, and you give both of them, say, a 200 rupee. There's no 200 rupee note, say 100 rupee note, right? Both of them get the same amount of money, and that is that one might say is equality, where you have a rich woman, you have a poor woman, and you're giving them the 100 rupee note. But when you look at equity, what that might mean is that should the poor woman be given 200 rupees instead of the 100 rupees, right? And that's what even Pradhan is saying here, that do both from the rich and the poor woman, usme starting point kya alag hai, dono ka. And because there is a difference in the starting point, should that be considered? And should be, before they start their journey, should we get the poor one at the right kind of, in the same kind of line, as a same kind of starting point, and then kind of see where both of them reach. So that is how I have kind of made sense of equity and equality. And yes, I think in terms of not just sport, but in general, if you look at women and the job market and how it works out, at least from the Indian context, this is a very important discussion that needs to be had. And like Pradhan said, I think there is no I didn't find it any. I mean, I find it quite funny that a lot of people came up with equity as a financial concept, and because that's how even when I looked at the survey actually for the first time, I was like, this is an interesting question. यार सोचा नहीं है इसके बारे में, and that's where my journey also kind of started, right? So yeah, so I think that's how I define equity and equality, in terms of, do we give everybody the kind of a similar starting point and then kind of see where they reach?
Absolutely. And I actually am happy and sad both with the definitions of equity that women came up with. I'm really happy that women have started looking at their own finances and understanding it. So when it comes from a perspective of share market and investing their own money, I'm really happy that women are taking interest in it, and they should. But I'm also I also realize that not a lot of women, or not a lot of people in India, I think, know the difference between equity and equality. And one of the reasons, so we started our toolkit with a title of Equality Toolkit for Women in Sport, but we changed it to Equity Toolkit for Women in Sport. And the reason being that there are always going to be some jobs that are right for women, and there are always going to be those jobs that are right for men, right? It's not about equality. It's about their own traits. It's about their own skill set, and the right jobs should go to the right people is what we felt. So that is why we changed the title from equality to equity, because I believe that, you know, on some levels, women are better at some jobs than men are, and vice versa is also true. So I just want to take a minute to, have your opinion on this subject, where we are discussing about what's right for whom, and have you experienced that in your life as well? Some jobs are right for women, some jobs are right for men. Anybody can go first.
This time, Aditi.
It has to be Pradhan. I'm going to always.
I actually don't really agree on this.
Yes.
My perspective on this is that if we start creating these boxes in our minds, it will just add to the boxes that exist already in the minds of people in the world. That this is something that a man should do, this is something that a woman should do. I personally feel that 98% of most jobs are, something that a man and a woman can do equally well. I'm not talking about physical labor. I'm not saying that a woman should run 100 meters in 9.8 seconds. Okay, let's apply common sense to this statement, but any kind of administrative job that requires the usual kinds of skills that you need, whether it is communication, whether that is stakeholder management, whether that is budgeting skills, a man and a woman can fit equally into that job profile. So I actually personally disagree with that.
Yeah, I mean, actually, to add to Snehal's bit about the physical labor thing that she said, right? Actually speaking, if you look at I think there were some recent numbers that came in terms of how many women are present in the whole construction working kind of ecosystem in India, right? And the construction work is quite real estate ka kaam karna is quite physical.
For that matter, farming also,
Yeah,
agriculture also.
women are more there. I mean, even wahan pe bhi they, I mean, it's again in the more of a, not in the formal sector, isliye wo pehchana nahi jata. But actually speaking, women are actually even much more there than men in terms of physical labor. So for me also, I don't believe in this thing ki ek job औरत के लिए है और दूसरा job is for a man. I don't believe in that as well. And Vaidya, it will be cool to kind of understand where you come from when you kind of say that. But I think for me also, in terms of administration, bolo ya even decision making rules, or rules where you have to lead, right? I feel that we are as capable as men, right? We are as competent, and and if we are able to kind of do the right things, and kind of bring value to the table, I don't think वहाँ पे कोई gender का notion होना चाहिए. I mean, any job, it should just be based on what you bring to the table, and are you able to do that job well, right? So for me also, I think it's not really about this role is for one gender and the other role is for some other gender. I don't believe in that as well.
No, so where I am coming from is, let's keep gender aside for a minute, right? We are individuals, and we all have different personality traits, different skill set, different way we think about things, right? So the aspect of it that I am thinking about is, it could be nurture or nature. In certain way, women are groomed, it makes us more capable for some of the jobs. And I think this is well researched, not particularly in India, but in Western countries, it is well researched that some jobs are more right for women than men, and vice versa is also true. So I'm coming from that perspective, and there could be various different reasons for it. If the nature or nurture changes, it could change, right? If we, in maybe 100 years time, women could be good at both physical and administrative jobs as much as a man, but there are some things that differ in terms of the kind of jobs that are done well. everybody's capable of doing a lot of things, but based on the skill set and based on the education, based on the socio-cultural environment, economic environment, familial environment, for example, right? The kind of jobs that you can do change. For example, I was reading a research paper recently, and it says that women are naturally better at sales because they can empathize well, and that comes from a very, very biological perspective, right? So I'm not saying that men would be bad at it, and it might change, depending on the nature and nurture. I see Snehal smiling. But it is true, right? It's been researched that women are better at doing sales. Yeah, that's where I'm coming from, honestly. Like you asked, Aditi. Snehal, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, so
Seems a
on,
little bit.
on this, rather than looking at it with a gender lens, I would prefer to look at it with a background lens. So
Okay.
your background means that when you get into a job on day one, you have certain skills and certain competencies which come naturally to you. And those might be the immediate primary skills required. But there might be some other skills required which don't come naturally to you, which you have to learn. And the beauty of any, whether you're a man or woman, is that you can learn new skills.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of what does your personality, whether you're a man or a woman, make you naturally a better fit towards, and identifying and filling up the gaps of the skills that you need to learn actively.
That's essentially what equity is, right? So right job for the right person, irrespective of what your gender is. That's it. That's what equity is. And depending on your background, where you're coming from, giving the right kind of resources to make sure, like Aditi said, the outcome is same. We come to the same conclusion. So for example, if we are talking about growth of sports industry as a whole, if giving women more resources, because she hasn't had a lot of resources, is going to actually grow the sports industry at maybe twice or 5 times the speed, then we should do that. That's where the equity comes in the picture, right? So I think that is why we essentially changed the title from equality to equity. It doesn't mean that everybody should have the same same section in the pie, right? It depends on where to allocate the resources so that overall growth of the sports ecosystem is same, or it's multiplying essentially. So that's where we are coming from. But yeah, I mean, I think I agree with both of your points, and the way we look at things is very important, which brings me to my next point, right? um, we often talk about inequality, overall sports industry being biased towards men, and we have had a lot of men saying this. But what I wanted to check with you, being an athlete and now an administrator, is that real? Do you feel it, or do you think that it is perceived? We have everything, but we still are perceiving ourselves as unequal. So I just wanted to ask you that, and I'm going to share a little bit of data around that as well in a bit, but I would love to talk to you about that first.
This time Aditi first, because I have to quickly
Aditi,
pop out.
you go first now. Yes.
What she
Aditi first.
What happened just now?
She'll come back.
Okay. So देखो इसमें I think the way I try to look at this is कि first of all we need to kind of build a bigger picture before we actually come into sport, right? The recent trends, like I mean, you guys might already have read this, that the recent trends I think we had a number in 2021 where we have seen a serious drop of women from the workforce in general. I mean, we are making only 19% of the workforce in the country currently, and this is, I'm talking from the overall lens in the job market, right? अब उस सब में आप sport को जब देखोगे तो sport तो और भी छोटा होगा, right? I mean, the pie in terms of the jobs that we create right now is actually going to be even lower, right? And so when you're looking at it from that kind of a bigger lens, you see that overall, where, I mean, even the economists actually coming, because we are a nation of, we have 49% of women population in the country. We are the fastest growing economy. We are, we have the youngest population, in the country. We are going to be, I think, only second to US and China in terms of how we are growing, right? And given all of that, women are not there, you know. And this is just overall data that we have, and there are various reasons that have been cited, right? From शायद लड़कियां अभी पढ़ाई ज्यादा कर रही हैं, so they are not seen. The way we measure, measure the kind of participation of female participation in the workforce, a lot of women are doing informal, what is the word, informal, right? Informal jobs, like into the farms, or you're doing daily chores, or you're a kam wali bai, all of those things. So that is not being measured. So there's a measurement issue, right? And also, actually, one of the reasons also that has been pointed out is that because it's a growing economy, and because there is patriarchy in general, women are like, okay, women are being told ki kaam kyun karna hai, sab you have your house, you have this and that, and women are okay with that, like, there's nothing wrong with it as well. But so there are, 3, 4, 5, whatever, 5, 6 factors that the economists have come with, but it's still actually unclear as to why women are not asserting themselves more and are not there in the job market, right? And so saying all of this, what I want to kind of come to is that शायद इसमें थोड़ा सा in terms of when we look at starting point, right? Especially now looking at the sport lens here. See, most of the women that I meet who are into sport today, उनको access था sports का in some way, either as an athlete, they have been either state level players, not even national level players. There is an access to playing. There's an access to watching someone play. They've watched a lot of sport, right? So or they had a PT teacher who actually was very good, and he would pull them on the ground and actually make them play to see the beauty of sport and to kind of appreciate sport, and it doesn't have to be competitive at all, right? What I feel really is that the problem able to play and have an experience with sport. जब तक वो नहीं होगा for girls at an equal measure, because what we are see in terms of participation, we always say कि यार Commonwealth Games में अब women have been 50-50, Olympics में अब 50-50 हो गए हैं, and all of that. But what I think we are not measuring well is when it comes to physical activity, or when it comes to just women getting into the playground, the numbers are not very great. I mean, some of the reports have kind of not shown. I mean, adolescents bolo, ya women bolo, ya even young kids bolo. We are not really getting more and more girls on the ground. And even in terms of school may access milna for physical education, I have worked in government schools myself, and I know that लड़कियों को नहीं खिलाया जाता, ग्राउंड पे नहीं लेके आते, right? So when, and also there is, that's why no exposure to what you can do in sport, right? I mean, एक तो आपको, you don't like, you have not seen sport at all, you don't know what sport is, and then you expect people to come and play sport. So I feel that जो equity का issue है वो वहां पे ज्यादा है. No, and then once I actually, as an athlete, because I got access to sport and all of that, वहाँ पे I really didn't feel the need for equity at all. And I didn't come from a very rich background. It was very clear cut. आप perform करिए, you go ahead, you get all the needs that you want to get fulfilled. Job मिल जाएगा, वो हो जाएगा, सब कुछ हो जाएगा, which was the same thing for everybody else, right? And also in sport, I felt that as a somebody who's working in sport now, यहाँ पे भी मुझे वही experience मिला है that if you are good, if you add value to the table, if you are able to do your job well, you are appreciated. And I have generally worked in spaces जहाँ पे in sport, for example, right from my boss to working with, say, a BWF, I'm only dealing with men, right? And I have actually not seen them pulling me down. I have actually seen them pushing me up. यार कर लो, कोई तो कर रहा है, आप करो, So I mean, and this can be a very, very personal experience, but what I have anyway seen with even you or Snehal and everybody that at least I have met in sport in the working scenario is that अगर आप अच्छे हैं तो आपको value किया जाता है and you get your space, right? And but I think the equity issue mostly coming at the ground level जहाँ पे आपको access ही नहीं दिया जा रहा. अगर आप लड़कियों को पता ही नहीं है कि स्पोर्ट में आप करियर कर सकते हो तो लड़की क्यों करेगी भाई, मतलब उसको पता ही नहीं है, right? So I just feel that there is in the working spaces it's actually not as bad. I have not seen that much, and maybe Snehal might have different experience to share, but it's always been quite nice. I mean, if I've done my job, I've got what I wanted. But actually it's bad at the at that level जहाँ पे लड़कियों को seriously equity दोनों का issue है कि नहीं मिल पाता खेलने को या देखने को खेल, right? So so that's where actually the problem lies for me. I don't know if that is you guys agree with, but yeah.
No, I absolutely agree with you, and I think it's a very valid point, or rather a very insightful point that you made, ki the dichotomy between what happens for an athlete at ground versus what happens for a working woman in sports. I think that is the dichotomy that is very well seen. Hi Gayatri, Gayatri is here. Nice to have you here. So yeah, coming to you, Snehal, what are your thoughts on this, and what has been your experience?
No, so very similar. Like in my playing days, I have not come across a single teammate जो घर से लड़के आई है. No story have I come across of someone who's had to kind of cry, fight, steal, lie, and come and play cricket. Because the girls who probably have that resistance maybe don't even make it to the ground.
Yeah.
The ones who make it to the ground are the ones who have that support from home. And like Aditi said, I was also lucky to have be in the right place at the right time, that someone connected me to someone who knew that girls play cricket. Otherwise, at the time, I didn't know. So she's right. Rather than the equality of outcome in really measuring, how many women are in XYZ positions or in the medal list or those kinds of things, it's the equality of opportunity. Whereas how many, when you're doing a sports program at a grassroots level, is it 50-50? Which is really probably what makes the biggest difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you also made another valid point, key equality in terms of opportunities. And this could be at a very, very grassroots level in terms of women or girls participating in sports. Right? I think it's a very valid, valid point. I just want to share a few, figures with you. So in the survey, we asked,
there's a request.
Sorry, talk in Hindi. Oh my God, मेरा हिंदी बहुत खराब है.
Come on,
मेरा हिंदी बम्बईया हिंदी है. So I'll try, but don't expect me to be very good. बहुत खराब हिंदी बोलती हूँ मैं. But just wanted to share some data. So we asked on a scale of 1 to 5, do you think that your team or your club or your company do have an equality in their team, right? And majority of them said, almost 80% women said they are either neutral or they said yes. So 80% women agree. Sorry?
We are right. Yes, I'm saying we are right.
Yeah. 80% women said yes. We do have equality in our workspace, right? Again, I think we asked them about equity, but a lot of them didn't know about equity, so I'm going to discount that questions. But we asked them also, do you think women have more opportunities than men in your organization? Do you think they have less opportunities or they have equal opportunities? And more than 60, so 63.5% women said we have equal opportunities, right? Which is, which is great. But at the same time, if we come to the next question, we ask them, have you ever thought that gender has played a role in women missing out any opportunity? and 66% of them said yes. So there is a huge dichotomy between, you know, them having equal opportunities, at the same time them feeling that their gender has played a lot of role in whether they go ahead or not, which makes me wonder what could be the reason. So if we are talking about, you know, the workplace is open, flexible, and has equality, you know, your bosses, your company is giving you equal chance, what is it that is stopping you? That's, I think, a very important point to dig deeper into, and which is something that we are planning to do. Because, you know, when I actually got the results were exactly opposite to what I expected them to, right? So that is why I wanted to check with you, Ki, okay, if there is an equal opportunity in the working side of sports, you know, administration, management side of sports, what, according to you, could be the reasons why women perceive that their gender plays a big role? That's why I added, you know, reality or perception. What is it that stops them from going ahead if they are getting the, you know, if they are getting equal opportunities to go ahead and get that promotion? So maybe, you know, Aditi, you can start again.
अच्छा, okay. So इसमें देखो, I think for me, some of the reasons here are also the whole idea of family, right? So for me, for example, if you were saying ki, you know, we can be great as a salesperson, right? That women can be great as a salesperson, and I was just thinking ki shayad I could do sales, and but do I want to, or can I do sales, you know, with the practicality of it? Because I'm a mother, and I have a 4-year-old at home, and a husband, and I live with my in-laws and my parents, and my parents are like 5 minutes away. So for me to do sales, it means I have to be there has to be a lot of traveling. I have to be away from home a lot and all of that. And I am not willing to do that at this point. I don't want to be away from home as much. Right. And I want to be around with Agastya, and I want to kind of do all of that. And sales can give me promotions, and sales can give me a lot of money, all of that. But I have to also be cognizant, or I willingly actually want to be at home and choose a role jahan pe at this point of my career, where I have a 4-year-old at home, I should be able to balance my work and also, you know, kind of be a decent mother and wife and all of that. And so that is one part of it, that, you know, and this also came up in the breaking barriers report that we had done, because we spoke to some coaches. हमने coaches से बात की थी उसमें, and हमको coaches ने यही बताया कि एक तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट जॉब होते हैं जो हमें नहीं चाहिए, आप हमें परमानेंट जॉब दो. दूसरा चीज था कि अगर ट्रैवल करना है या बहुत बदली होने वाली है, देयर इज लॉट ऑफ, यू नो, चेंज ऑफ लोकेशन दैट इज गोइंग टू हैपन, हम ये नहीं कर सकते बिकॉज हम फैमिली को छोड़ के नहीं घूम सकते. तो हम नहीं कर सकते ये. तो कोचिंग में ये होगा, कोच बनने के लिए यू हैव टू ट्रैवल विद द टीम, एंड एट सम पॉइंट ऑफ आवर करियर्स वी आर नॉट ओपन टू डूइंग दैट. हमको नहीं करना ट्रैवल. Right. And that, so when you're saying no, and so what I feel a little bit, and I've seen this generally also, is that women may be a little more, you know, sensitive to the fact that there's a family at home. And for me, from my personal experience, the mom guilt, that even today I'm in Bangalore and I'm speaking to you and I'm not with Agastya right now, is actually, I'm not at 100%. I wish I was also with Agastya and doing this, right? ये भी बहुत रियल है, because I don't have any pressure from Chinmay or from my parents or from my in-laws कि you're not here, it's not right. Nobody's saying that to me, but I actually feel it, right? कि you know, I should be around and I cannot be away from home for a long time. I need to be with him and so on and so forth. So there is this whole family angle, and, you know, things and some restrictions that I'm putting up on myself rather than actually putting on me, in terms of travel and all of that. And with the promotion, there are going to be certain expectations for that promotion. And am I willing to do those things, being a mother and, you know, a wife and so on. That is one. Second bit of this, I also feel, is the safety angle. I really feel in India, safety is a major piece that, you know, is stopping women from doing a lot of things, not just in sport, in general. राइट. आज भी मेरे को गारंटी नहीं है क्या होने वाला है मेरे साथ, right? I mean, I cannot guarantee. I have generally had always decent experiences, and I'm prepared for, you know, if something happens, because as an athlete that gives me that, you know, ये कि मैं travel कर चुकी हूँ तो मुझे पता है मुझे क्या करना चाहिए, you know, what kind of resources I need to use. But safety is the problem. And I am again, like, you know, and in the workplace, outside of workplace, and both these spaces, right? I've been very you know, grateful to the fact that wherever I've worked, I've never felt unsafe. But I really feel in general, women might be feeling unsafe in a lot of these places, and in terms of, you know, outside of workplace and the travel and everything that comes with, you know, things in India, right? So safety एक मेरे को लगता है जो concern होना चाहिए यहाँ पे. And the second bit is the whole angle of family and being mothers, and, you know, what you're going to do with it and how you're going to manage both and all of those things. I think these things do matter for women a little more than the men, and maybe that is two critical differences that I find.
Yeah, I think it's very, very crucial. I think 2 points you made, Aditi, tie into two of rather series of 5 questions that we asked to women, right? We asked them, are they willing to relocate to a different location for a job? Are they willing to, you know, work on weekends? Are they willing to work odd hours? Are they willing to, you know, for example, are they willing to travel, for example, right? So for location and for weekend work, we received positive responses from all women. And for travel and odd hours, we received opposite, right? So it ties very much into what you are saying. I think safety becomes one of the biggest issue, and I don't think it is an internal safety of an organization. Going from my house to point B or during the travel, the safety that we need, if I'm traveling by train at night, you know, I am not going to feel safe as a woman. And I absolutely, that plays a huge role, especially when it comes to a traveling job, or if you are going to tier 2, tier 3 city jobs. You know, we also had a couple of conversations with, you know, recruiters, which is something that we have not added to the report right now, which will come out in a bit. But a lot of them had that concern or a complaint that women are not ready to go in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, which again ties into what you said about safety, right? And working odd hours and work, you know, traveling also is a reflection of why women are not ready to travel and work odd hours. So very true. Coming to Snehal, again, I would love to know, you know, your thought on why is it that women don't go ahead? What is stopping them, honestly? Snehal, we can't hear you.
Hello. Yeah, there we are. The data that you just shared was for me really the most interesting bit. Women are, according to your survey, women are ready to move cities, which is a huge movement. Women are ready to work weekends, which is a huge time commitment. So there is no shortage of commitment to a profession. Even might be women with families who are kind of willing to relocate their families or move into a situation where you're living away from your family. So that shows me there is this huge commitment to a profession, which breaks a stereotype that, oh no, women won't move or women can't work weekends. But at the same time, it says for travel and odd hours, there is a negative feedback, which tells you that women want a certain level of certainty. To be fair, women will want a certain level of certainty, but from the safety aspect, I get the travel bit. And that probably explains a lot. And the odd hours again talks to the safety aspect, which tells us where we are as a country, which tells us that, you know, like honestly, in some Indian cities, I don't think it's about being out at midnight on walking on the streets, but in some Indian cities, if I do that, I'm being stupid. So, so, so that's a sad reality, which is why, you know, odd hours or travel becomes a little bit of a risk. But that doesn't mean there's a lack of commitment, because the fact that you're willing to move cities and willing to work weekends shows commitment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I just want one more thing to what Snehal is saying is that so in terms of women, and again I'm again speaking from the mother angle, right? I mean, इसमें ये भी मैंने देखा है कि if you are able to as leaders of the organization, if they are able to actually give you that freedom in terms of example. So for example, my head office at Simply Sport is in Bangalore. But my boss is kind enough to kind of let me work from Pune. I work remote, right? And I travel as required. जब मुझे travel करना पड़ता है, I go and travel and I do what I need to do. But when that kind of, if we can be creative with this, actually, I even if I'm a mother and I have to kind of be very clear about मेरे को कितना time किसके लिए देना है. मैं as a woman, I think one of the things that I'm going to say here, which men I think don't do well, is the whole multitasking bit. I really believe we are much more better. I don't know if there's any there, but I'm saying it out loud. I think we are super multitaskers, and I really believe that मैं जो शायद somebody is going to take 8 hours to do, I have to do it in 4 hours because I only have 4 hours maybe to work, and I will do it in those 4 hours, right? I mean, like what Snehal is saying कि commitment को कोई कमी नहीं है, right? I mean, there are some active decisions that I am taking from where I am at my stage of my life, but I will make sure I've done.
Yeah.
Kind of work from a space जहाँ पे मैं सच में मैं ठीक से काम कर सकती हूँ, and if you trust me with that, I will show you what I'm capable of, right? So I think there's never an issue of commitment, but you have to also be able to kind of give women that those spaces जहाँ पे वो grow हो सकती हैं, and where you kind of are a little okay with things like them working offline sometimes, because they have a kid at home, or them getting a kid into the workplace and kind of working with a baby there, and all of these things, I think as mothers especially, are very very important, that as workplaces में encourage होना चाहिए.
Yeah, very true, very true. And in ideal situation, I think women should not feel guilty about going to work, should not feel guilty about going ahead, should be able to work on weekends. I'm only talking about sports industry. Other industries work in a different way. Should be free to work on weekends, odd hours. There should not be ideally a safety issue, and recruiters and companies who are hiring women should not need to change their policies and structure based on gender. That is an ideal situation, but till we reach that level, till there are no policy differences, and I'm absolutely not talking about biological differences between men and women. They are always going to be there. Till there are no policy differences for men and women, we need to make sure that we are flexible to accommodate more resources. That is where the equity comes in the picture, right? Because adding women into the ecosystem is only going to benefit the ecosystem as opposed to not having them, right? Because growth never happens unidimensional, right? Or if you are neglecting one gender or 50% of the population, that anyway that field is not going to grow. So we need to be, for now, be a bit flexible in terms of how we accommodate women. Ultimate goal is to not have separate policies for women, right? That is an ideal situation, but till we reach there, I think it's a very important thing.
Ultimate international women.
Sorry?
Ultimate goal is to not need international
Women's Day, or like any gender specific day, to be honest. If we are all equal, we will not need it anyway. But till such a time, we need to give a little bit more part of the pie to women so that we reach that 50-50. And not in terms of resource allocation, but also in terms of contribution. So women should also contribute 50% to the growth of sports, as as an industry. That's what I feel, right? So very rightly, you both said all the right points, and I think for me also there's a lot to take out, because I think the way we look at things differs, and all three of us are very, very different people. That's why we gel together very well, and we have different thought processes also. So I'm really glad that you could make it essentially, and I'm definitely glad that I shared the data. I hope to share all the other outcomes of the equity toolkit, when we progress to phase 2. But yeah, I'm happy to have both of you here, and thank you so much for your time and having this open and honest discussion, because I think it needs to happen. And I also believe that men also need to be part of the discussion. Many times I see that women don't want to talk about these things with men. I am not of that opinion at all.
There is
If you
no
exclude, yeah, exactly. If you exclude one gender, there is no discussion. It is just one side of the argument, right? So we need to
panelist needs,
include men.
your next panelist needs to have some men also on it.
I will make sure that I do that. And this is just the start of the discussion, right? Because this is a pre-launch discussion to Equity Toolkit. We are just finishing with phase 1. There is phase 2, there is phase 3, and data will be collected. This is just the start. And I want to include as many people as possible to make sure that we are creating this wholesome set of recommendations which are actually implementable. I'm not a big fan of having a theory in place, but if you can actually implement them practically, then I think that is going to be very, very important, stepwise, of course. But yeah, that's the idea. And honestly, I don't think I could have found better two people to begin this conversation with. Just to tell you all, these two people on the screen are really, really good friends, and we have had some very meaningful conversations over the last, I don't know how many months, and they have contributed to
I don't know what you said. मुझे गाली दिया तो मुझे पता नहीं, कुछ तो भी बोली. I don't know. I didn't hear only क्या बोली.
Quite a few meaningless conversations also.
more meaningless, to be honest. But
All
it's good to have
meaningless.
meaningless conversations also.
Meaning in meaningless. That is where the meaning is actually, in meaningless.
We actually, honestly, nowadays, I think we are, every conversation is about an agenda. It's very rare to find meaningless conversations where we can have fun. And I will, of course, not disclose all the conversations here. but they were fun. But it's okay, it's good to have meaningless conversations. I'm really happy. But yeah, that's the end of our live, and I again will thank both Aditi and Snehal for joining. Snehal from Dubai, Aditi again from Pune. She's almost as good as my neighbor.
I said that 3.
Yes, from Dubai. So
Here.
now Bangalore. Oh, sorry. So 3 different places. Aditi from Bangalore and Snehal from Dubai and me from Pune. But it's good to have you both. And we'll keep on having these discussions, and I will keep everybody updated about what data we find, and I think there's going to be a lot of progress, I hope. But thank you so much, and have a wonderful weekend ahead. Both of you get back to work, and Aditi, you also get back to work. Snehal, you also get back to work and go home. I think you're in office. It's time to go home. All right.
Bye, Vaidehi. Everything.
Bye. Thank you, everybody.